Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and today I'm privileged to be joined by New York Times bestselling author Brigid Kemmerer. How are you, Brigid?
Hi, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming live virtually across the Atlantic to hang out with us here at Forbidden Planet TV. Now we're here to talk about your new novel, about which we are very excited, Defy the Night. So what can you tell me about the book?
So Defy the Night is a brand new fantasy. Some readers may be familiar with the Cursebreaker series, which was my previous series.
Wonderful
Defy the
series.
Night is
Yeah.
Thank you. Defy the Night is brand new, has no relation to that series. It is about a kingdom called Kandala that is overrun by an illness, and it is being ruled by a ruthless king and his younger brother, Corrick, who is the king's justice, basically the court executioner. And part of the reason that they need to be so brutal is that the only cure for this illness ravaging their kingdom is this rare and elusive moonflower that is used to make an elixir. And only the wealthy people have access to this flower and this medicine. Now, of course, we have a very brave girl named Tessa, who takes it upon herself to be an outlaw by night, and she's an apothecary by day. And she steals moonflower petals from the rich to distribute medicine to the poor, along with her best friend, Weston. One day, Weston does not return from a supply run, and Tessa takes it upon herself to figure out what happened to him by sneaking into the palace. And she discovers that everything she might have known about her kingdom, about the illness, and about the cure might not necessarily be true. And if she wants to really help the people, she might need to start a revolution and break everything from the inside out. And I'm just so excited about this book. I am so excited for people to read it.
I love your synopsis, and what I'm excited about this series myself is the tremendous amount of parallels it has for society today and for what is going on both a macro level and a micro level within global society with regard to issues like illness and transmissibility of disease, social function, all of that. Could you just talk a bit about that and the inspirations you had for developing this tale?
Absolutely. It's funny because a lot of people ask me if this was a COVID inspired novel, and it was not. I wrote the first draft in 2019. I turned it into my editor by October of 2019, so well before anyone in the public really knew anything about COVID. My initial inspiration was that when I was a little girl, I loved any kind of outlaw stories. I loved the old Disney Robin Hood with the animated fox. I love any Robin Hood retelling. I loved Zorro. I loved the old fantasy books like Jackaroo by Cynthia Voigt, and On Fortune's Wheel. I loved those kinds of stories. And, I remember I was thinking about what could I do with an outlaw novel? And I started thinking, just about, do I want, a male outlaw? Do I want a female outlaw? And I was scrolling Facebook and I saw, and this is not something that would happen in the UK, but it happens in the US. I saw someone share a GoFundMe link where their neighbor needed help paying for chemotherapy, cancer treatments. And then it started making me think about illness and what happens, in the United States, what do people have a right to healthcare? And then once COVID hit and I got into revisions of this novel, working with my editor, I really had a lot of thought-provoking conversations with my editor, with my family about, what obligations do rulers and people have in power to provide healthcare for the people? What happens when you have people who need to put on masks to help each other because they don't want to reveal who they are in person? It really gave me a lot to think about, which originally came from kind of an almost silly idea, let's just do something with Robin Hood. And suddenly I felt like I was really writing about people at their darkest moments and what they would do to survive.
Yeah, I think outlaw fiction is fascinating. And,
yes.
Outlaw mythology is fascinating. One element of it, I think, that's quite sort of prescient with regard to, again, the things that are very important right now, is how integral the concept of the mask is to the concept of the outlaw, and how much of a hot button issue masks have become within contemporary society.
It's funny. When I got to the point where we were doing copy edits for the novel, my editor was going through and made several comments like, how does she know that, he's blushing, or how can she see his freckles if he has a mask on? And I'm like, no. Like, we had to fix, I had to add lines to make sure people knew that we were talking about a mask over the eyes, like as a disguise, not a mask over the lower half of their face.
Yeah, the classic the classic domino mask of the outlaw.
Yes.
I too am a big Zorro fan. Were you a fan of the old? Did you ever watch the old black and white Guy Williams show?
Yes, I loved them so much.
He was really what I mean. He was an actor who had a very interesting pedigree throughout fantasy shows because he went on to star in Lost in Space, which was another kind of archetypal show. But he was such a great Zorro, I thought. Yeah, yes, tremendously approachable. And I take it you must also be a Princess Bride fan.
I am very much, very much.
Who isn't? Who isn't?
I mean, yes.
So to take a step back, I remember reading once that before you were a novelist, that you actually worked in the finance industry. Is that right?
I did almost 20 years working in the finance industry.
And so when you became a professional writer, a novelist, a successful novelist, was that an ambition that you'd harbored and developed over those 20 years? What was your route to becoming an author?
So I always wanted to be a full-time author. I loved writing stories. When I was a kid, I wrote all through high school. I remember vividly, I got in trouble in math class because I was writing under my notebook. So I've always wanted to be a writer and wanted to be an author. And it's challenging in the beginning. Your first few novels, writing is never a get rich quick type of scheme. Those first few books, yay, we can go out to dinner, it's never, quit the day job. And it took me several years. I didn't quit the day job until my 9th book, which was A Curse So Dark and Lonely. And I really had to build my career, brick by brick.
Yeah, because by that point you'd had all of your Elemental series had been published by that point, right? When you, by the time you started, and something about the Cursebreaker series that I really love is the titles. I think the titles of those 3 novels are really beautiful and actually always really stand out on the shelf.
Oh, thank you. It's funny, as with publishing, titles change for almost every book from conception through to publication. And A Curse So Dark and Lonely was my first book that kept the same title all the way through.
Brilliant. Like, and so did you always have the A Heart So Fierce and Broken and A Vow So Bold and Deadly? Did you always have those in your head as well?
No, those went through a great deal of change.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And so something again, with your various series and your various books that's really, I think, powerful about your writing are the worlds that you've created. And something we often ask on this show is, what comes first for you? Is it the world building? Is it the society you detail? Is it the characters? What's your way into that?
For me personally, it is always the characters. I love characters. I would put characters in a white-walled room, lock the door, and just have them talk. I love characters. I generally build the world around the characters once I have them in my head.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And so for Defy the Night, how long did it take you to develop the concept, the novel? How long have you been working on this new series prior to publication?
So it probably took me 3 to 4 weeks to really get some solid ideas for where I wanted the plot to go, for who I wanted the characters to be. The story is told from 2 points of view. We have Tessa, who is our outlaw, and then we have Prince Corrick, who is basically the court executioner. So I really wanted to tell both sides, somebody who was kind of down among the people and somebody who was at the top in the palace. And then once I started writing, it takes me about 5 to 6 months to get a first draft down on paper.
Yeah, okay. Right. And do you find that a gratifying process? Is it something that's kind of like, going up a climbing wall at a gym? Is it tough, or is it easy for you? Is it joy filled?
The drafting is the hardest part. I hate writing, but I love having written.
Yeah.
I love once that first draft is down, and I love the state when you get to where the first draft is written and you can start fixing it and making it better. But for
Yeah.
me, the
Okay.
first draft is almost like digging a hole.
Yeah, right. Okay, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now that you're looking at it in its published form, without giving too much away about the fabric of the novel, what do you feel proudest of about this book?
So I really love that this is the first book where I built a much more in-depth political system. I don't just have a king and a prince. The king in this book is, beholden to his consuls, each of whom rule a separate sector in the kingdom. There's a lot more politics at play in the book than I ever really got involved with previously, and it was a lot of characters to keep track of. It just was a heavier book than I've written before, and it felt like I had taken my writing to a new level.
Oh, yeah, how wonderful! And where is it where are you going to go with this world in future?
So I do have two future novels planned. I'm working on the sequel right now, and I don't want to be spoilery, but I'm very excited about where the second book is going.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't press you on it, but I can't wait. And by the way, the new novel that Brigid and I are discussing, Defy the Night, it's available from the links attached to this interview. And Brigid, do you see yourself as somebody who's devoted to the trilogy form, or as you go along with future universes and future worlds, do you think you might chop and change the way your series come out?
I really do like the trilogy format. I like telling, a full world worth of stories in 3 books. I know many authors do, 6, 7, 8 books
Yeah.
and do extremely well with that. I don't know if I could do that. I will say that I am returning to the world of the Cursebreaker series. It's going to be a spin-off series. So it's a totally new series. And the first of those books comes out next May. And it's the Cursebreaker world, but it's set 4 years in the future. So it'll have some characters that readers may know and love, but we have some new adventures with some new characters. So I like being able to return to the world without stretching on to, 7 or 8 books. It's going to be a new trilogy.
Fantastic. So a new trilogy. Will it have a new umbrella title?
Yes, we don't have a new umbrella title yet. The
Yeah.
first book will be Forging Silver into Stars.
Fantastic. What a great title.
Oh,
amazing.
thanks.
Wonderful. Well, like I said, I really love the titles on the Cursebreaker series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you get the through line for the 3 books with that starting place. I think that it's
Thanks.
got a lovely poetical element to it, I think. So that's great. And back to Defy the Night, which I think is very much a really kind of exciting development for you and the novels that you've been writing. I love the fact that you're exploring outlaw mythology and outlaw fiction, and I know this series is going to be a great hit for you. It's a wonderful book, and thank you very much for coming and joining me and talking to me about Defy the Night.
Thank you so much. This was so delightful. What a great way to spend my morning.
Yeah, it's lovely to meet you, Brigid. And please, when the next novel comes along, or when your new trilogy comes along, please come back and have another chat with us.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
And once again, Defy the Night is available from the links attached to this conversation, and it's wonderful. You're going to love it. You have a lovely day, Brigid.
Thank you. You too.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.